Okay, so Timestalkers. This is a really interesting film, right? It is written and directed by Alice Lowe. Um, the film is produced by Tom Wood, Mark Hopkins, Vaughan Civil, and Nathan Stolze. It's executive produced by Stolze and Civil. Also, Compton Ross, Mike Rattenbury, Jessica Malik, Phil Hunt, Frankie Goodwin, Ty Francis, Philip Colbert, and Charlotte Colbert, with line production from Jack Cornelius Knott. Toy Drum took care of the music. Ryan Edelston was on cinematography. Chris Dinkins and Matthias Fiquet were down with the editing. Felicity Hickson was production design. Costume design is Rebecca Gore. Hair, makeup, wigs, all of that jazz. We have Debbie Salmon, Kirsty McQueen, Julie Kendrick, Nicola Buck, and Lindsay Bowen. Chloe Brown, production management. And our cast. Okay, so how do we do this one? Agnes is played by Alice Lowe, right? Her friend Meg is played by Tanya Reynolds. Then there's Scipio, played by Jacob Anderson. George is played by Nick Frost. Alex is played by Aneurin Barnard. We've got Lester played by Boyd Clack. Who else do we have? The tarot reader Quack Doctor played by Zach Wyatt. The riot police Victorian gent played by Maurizio Pastorio. The wig maker and Kresnik played by Gerard Tyler. The officer and priest played by Dan Renton Skinner. Kate Dickey, Mike Wazenak. They are also in the film. Right, so the gist of Timestalker is we follow a hapless heroine, Agnes, through time as she repeatedly falls for the wrong guy, dies a grim death, gets reincarnated a century later before meeting him again and starting the cycle anew. It is one story told over many periods, all with the messy thrills and spills that come with daring to follow your heart or maybe your loins. Agnes' only hope in avoiding this violent fate is by finally reaching spiritual enlightenment. But how can she ever wise up when she's destined to be a fool for love? Some lessons are just too hard to learn in one lifetime. So that is the film. Now, we also have a director's statement from Miss Alice Lowe, right? So this is what it says. I plan to take the best of cinema tropes, the painterly beauty of costume drama, the surrealism of futuristic fantasy, the exuberance of the 1980s, and the theatricality of swashbuckling adventure, and weave a unique, dreamlike narrative, bejeweled with cheeky humour about men, women, and the eternal conundrum of sexuality. Highwaymen, Jane Fonda aerobics, a woman who marries her dog, syphilitic cocks, new romantics, disco dancing, revolutionaries, and giant wigs. A wild technicolor ride through time with knickerbockers on. I wanted to write something that reflected the eternal humiliation that is the search for love and the tyranny of the narratives we're taught. Real life can just never match up to it. We make the same mistakes over and over, but weirdly, the answer is always in ourselves. This is a story about what it is to be human and how that never changes. Whatever era you read about, we still recognize love, rejection, jealousy, and longing. At the same time, it's about a woman who realizes that the power is within her to change things. I hope it's an uplifting, joyful, crazy, funny, relatable film about second chances and the fact that it's never too late to change. I was inspired by all these grand romantic epics of old Hollywood and the beautiful, optimistic naivety of them, alongside the vast timelines, wisdoms of them. Times are so dark now. Who needs more of that? I was watching sagas like The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp, Dr. Zhivago, Gone with the Wind, enjoying the grandeur and scale. But at the same time, I wanted it to be a small personal story about one person's evolution and emancipation, in a sense. So I decided to spread her story over a few eras. In a way, it's a pan to the romantic narrative we all absorb. We grow up thinking we're going to be swept up by a prince on horseback or by austerely asked to dance in a ball or even meet our sweetheart in the Big Apple in the Empire State Building. But I also wanted to make something poppy and fun. I love the metaphysics of comedies such as Back to the Future, Groundhog Day. I wondered what would happen to a heroine who just kept coming back, despite drawbacks such as being decapitated. Agnes is admirable, but she is also stupid. I wanted to make a heroine who is how I feel, an incurable optimist, a slave to love, but actually we do see her grow up. And many of the film's themes are about emancipation from tyranny in one way or another. I was fascinated by how we often mistake subjugation for love. This can be a kinky way, S&M, or whatever, or just the emotional abuse we often put up with because we think it's love. Love equals feeling terrible, but hopefully there's a clarion moment when we realize that true love is about giving someone freedom. Dum, dum, dum. So yeah, there you go, people. And you know what I mean? Like, I think when you hear that statement and hear the things that Alice Lowe is saying, if you watch the film, I believe she hit all of those, right? It's yeah, it's really fun. It was a fun film, you know? And you do see these pitfalls, right? We travel through time, which is very intriguing, right? We start in 1988, we go to 1793, where then we go to the dawn of time, 1847, 1980, right? We then jump back to the dawn of time. We're in 1980 again. Back to 1940. Back to 1980. Dawn of time. Limbo. 1980. And then we're in the future, 2117. So this is really just spread all over the place. And we're following this woman, Agnes, who, thinks she's in love, right? She's infatuated by someone, right? It's that moment, eyes cross, and you think, oh my God, these feelings. But it's like you're imagining that other person is feeling the same, And when you look at the situation Agnes is in, you go, is it love? Or are you just trying to escape? You know what I mean? That's a big thing. And I think that's the interesting thing about this story and Agnes's journey. Because we're seeing her believing in this deep, powerful, amazing love. And she is happy to put aside all the bullshit, right? That's coming with it, right? The horrible words, the treatment, all of this kind of stuff. But she thinks, oh, love. It's love. And when you think about things, right, in the real world, that's what people do all the time. They believe they're in love with this person and this person loves them the same. Or they do, but they just don't realize it. And they just need to, understand. So you push aside anything else that could be there, and it's often in front of the person. Push it aside because you're trying to make this one person understand that you two are meant to be. You know what I mean? And I think this film really does this great job of depicting that, right? Shining the light on that, but using the tapestry of all of these different genres, right, that we find ourselves floating through time through. It's an interesting window to look at things, and I think Lowe does a fantastic job. It's funny, I went to the press screening of this, but my God, public transport was a bitch, and man, I had to sit at the back, couldn't see anything, and you're hearing the reaction of the crowd, but it's like, I don't know what's going on. So I did actually get to see the film thanks to the great people at DDA, and once you get to see it, because a lot of this is in the facial expressions, the body language, and little things that are shown to you on the screen, like the posters on the wall, right? The weird wooden dildos, that kind of stuff, and you see it, and you're like, oh shit, okay, and you understand, right? The nuances become real clear, and I think the love of the film absorbs you, because you really do get caught up in the journey of these characters, Alice, Meg, Alex, George. Because there is that other thing, because, so the film is showing someone who is believing that they're in this mad love and they just need this person to know. But we're also then seeing obsessive love, obsession, where you're not actually loving the person, but you're subjugating that person. We're seeing that, and then there's the unrequited love. The love that is in front of Agnes, but she's just not seeing. So it's very interesting because all of these different components are there, you know? So we get that fun ride. There are other different time periods that Agnes finds herself in. And we do get a few little flashes of these. The whole Cleopatra thing is actually explained, right? Which is amusing. But, man, I really enjoyed Timestalkers. I thought it was really well done. You know, they use music and characters to kind of embed you into this story and this narrative. You know, because we're jumping through time, but we have the same people playing oftentimes similar roles, right? So it's, a different person maybe with a different name, but doing they're the same kind of, what would it be called? I don't know, like focus in that timeline. You know what I mean? It's the same kind of relationship with Agnes. So you're seeing all of that and the differences and everything like that. But there are these threads, the costumes are fun, right? The way it's lit, brings these moments to life and the importance of, right? All of these things. Right? We got the bird. And the birdcage is a fan, which is just like, there's no blade in it. They took the blade out, but it's just a fan, right? It's just like, oh, that's not a great cage for a little bird. There's all of these things are weird and kooky, but fun. I do believe Timestalkers is for the people that do love a rom-com, but kind of tired. You want something a bit different, a little unique, kind of quirky, right? When you look at things like Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind, like, Juno and Garden State, just like these weird, quirky type of things, then Timestalker does fit into those. And I do think it's one of those ones that you will go back to, I do see myself watching this again, which is great, because you do want that in film sometimes, Sometimes there's those ones that you can watch and be like, I love that, but you'll probably never watch it again. But it's always nice to have the ones where you'd be like, nah, I will come back to this, right? So yeah, Timestalker, people. It will be hitting cinemas Friday the 11th of October. And I suggest you go and let it really bring some joy, happiness, and smiles into your life. Timestalker.